So,
this is where it all started.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
2008. It's where the Marvel Cinematic Universe started.
Mm-hmm.
And they started off with a bang. I mean, it was... Even now, I would consider it one of the better Marvel movies.
It's definitely one of the better
You know?
Marvel movies. It's very unique, though, in terms of...
Well, at the time it was. I would...
It was original, and it was refreshing.
Yes. And that's
what... Well, and maybe not so much now, but I remember going to see it then and being like, this was nice.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good time.
It's exactly what Marvel has done with almost all of their movies. It's you watch it and there's not really a whole lot to complain about. It's just a really fun, good time. And Iron Man really set that standard by just every moment of the movie is just incredibly fun. It's a ton of fun action. The dialogue is really good. The acting is great. The acting is really good.
The acting. I wouldn't even just say it's great. I mean, it's really good.
Well, just from almost every character, there's not a bad performance.
Everybody. I mean, Jeff Bridges gives a good.
Well, I mean, you have to start with Robert Downey.
I mean, yeah, I was working my way there. Like, you've got him as the villain. You've got Jeff Bridges as the villain. You've got
Terrence Howard as Rhodey.
Who, let's be honest, I personally miss him in later films.
I like,
and
it's nothing.
And it's nothing against
Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle's done fine.
And Don Cheadle's a good actor.
Yeah,
but I thought the chemistry between.
I thought Terrence Howard and Robert Downey's chemistry seemed much more legitimate than the later films.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, the storyline with the first Iron Man, their relationship, it shows them a little bit more together, where in the later films it's not as much. But I think
to the guy he was in the cave with.
Yeah. No.
Back onto acting. To the
the guy. And see, that's what's cool about this movie is it's basically there's two stories in this. I mean, in this film, even though it's only 2 hours and maybe a couple minutes, like 2 hours and 5 minutes or something, it feels longer than it actually is, and it's because it's split up into two stories. You have that whole first 45 minutes to an hour.
There's backstory, and then there's him in the cave.
Yeah, but there's him, but that still takes up about 45 minutes of the movie.
And I agree, and I'm agreeing with you. It feels surprisingly long, and not in a bad way. It doesn't drag by any means.
But
they
squeeze a lot
going.
Yes.
But there is, by the end of it, you're like, I watched a lot. And I remember the first time I walked out of that movie thinking, God, like looking down at my clock and going, oh wow, that was only a 2-hour movie.
Right.
And it felt like you had gone on an adventure.
Yeah.
Like
it was a lot of stuff to digest, and it was all good, really. And that first half of the movie, it really shows like the character development of Tony Stark and what it took a situation like that for him to completely change his mindset on the way his business should be run, his life mindset. I mean, before it didn't really show.
And it goes back to we were talking about acting with the guy he's with in the cave. And I'm sorry, I
don't know his name. I mean, I can look it up real quick, but it's besides the point. It doesn't matter. I mean, we'll put his name up right here. He is great, and I don't.
You as a viewer grow an attachment.
Yes,
and
to a point where you almost because you knew that guy was not going to make it out of that cave because like he's not a main character in the
watching
comics
it
or anything.
And even kind of knowing the plan, you're sitting there going, how are they both getting?
They're not both, and you know Iron Man
because you sit there and watch because they were building this suit, and you're like. They're not building two.
Yeah, exactly. They're building one. But by the time that's all wrapped up, that guy, he's shot and killed, and there is a serious emotional attachment to that guy.
And also, you know, he helps Tony realize. I mean, again, yes, the situation helps change Tony's mindset, but that character,
well, I consider him a part of that whole situation, because he's the one guy in that period of time that he could talk to frankly.
Yeah, and of course it changes his mindset. He might be the sole reason that he realizes he loves Pepper. Another Gwyneth Paltrow is Pepper Potts.
She's solid. I mean, it's Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, she's always putting in a halfway decent performance.
I mean, it's not a deep role by any means.
Well, that's true.
The chemistry between her and Robert Downey
felt realistic. It feels very realistic,
Yeah.
which is all you can ask for from that.
Especially
character.
since there's Gwyneth Paltrow. So there's rumors that she's always hard to work with and stuff like that. And in this, that doesn't come through at all. There's a genuine. It feels like a genuine chemistry.
That being said, I've heard that she actually struggled with how they filmed as far as the improv. Because, not improv, but being a little more...
kind of on the fly.
On the fly. Like, apparently she did okay, but Jeff Bridges...
Most of this film...
Yes. To preface this, it's been basically confirmed is that they had a script, but a lot of the scenes, how they're blocked out and how they are... the dialogue between people were basically made on the fly. Like... I've heard stories about how Jeff Bridges talked about how him, Jon Favreau, who's the director, and Robert Downey would plan basically what the scene was going to be, and they'd block it out themselves. So it was basically them improving, and then they would film it. Mm-hmm. Which is strange how...
So it wasn't just... I'd heard... Jeff Bridges had issues with it, so you're saying Gwyneth Paltrow had some...
Well, Jeff Bridges had issues. He was worried about the direction the film was going, and then Jon Favreau apparently told Jeff Bridges, he goes, just think of it as a $200 million student film. And it apparently put Jeff Bridges at ease, and apparently he...
Wow, I'm sure every student filmmaker was like, if only.
If only we could do that. You know how amazing that would be? Here's $200 million, just do whatever the hell you want. That would be amazing. But Jeff Bridges, I mean, I'm assuming he adjusted fine. He didn't seem to be struggling at all.
No.
And that's...
And he was a good villain. And he doesn't play a villain very often, and he's normally really laid back, and he's a cool guy.
Right.
And he plays, and you want to like him. Through the whole thing,
that's my thing, is that...
And especially rewatching it, and sitting there and going, I know he's the bad guy, because there's kind of a reveal, but they keep pushing it on you like he's kind of... he's behind it. But you just don't want to believe it because you genuinely like Jeff Bridges.
That's what I was saying. I don't think they even were pushing he still may be a good guy. I think it...
No, I don't mean that. I just mean through the first half of the movie, it's not really revealed that he's the bad guy until halfway through.
That's true.
2/3 of the way through. And
my point is, though, any other actor, I feel like you would sit there and go, something fishy's going on.
Yeah.
But Jeff Bridges seems like such a likable guy, and he's usually so laid back. You're like, oh, he can't be the bad guy.
Yeah.
He may have some flaws, but he's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
But then when obviously it's revealed that he is the bad guy, it's like, damn it.
Yeah.
Because you want to like him so much. And that's why, and I've seen this movie now probably 4 or 5 times, but I hadn't seen it up until a few nights, because we watched it a few nights ago, and I hadn't seen it in a few years, but the scene with Jeff Bridges that always stuck out to me was when he is yelling at that lab technician.
Yeah, who couldn't replicate the arc reactor.
That Tony could in a cave.
Yeah.
And when Jeff Bridges becomes very aggressive and...
Well, just he yells, and you just don't hear
him. Exactly. It was a moment I realized, oh, I've never really seen Jeff Bridges get mad like that in a movie. And I mean, I'm sure I have seen it, but it's that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because even in this part, he's still pretty calm and laid back. And
even the reveal of him being the villain is he pulls Tony aside in front of paparazzi, and it's very
calm. But he had to do it that way.
Yeah, because you didn't want to cause a scene.
Exactly.
He didn't want to call, and it was kind of...
It was a smart move from that character's perspective. If you're going to reveal that you're the bad guy, do it at that place and time.
I don't know. We have our differences on that, because I felt like he could have just rode that out.
Yeah, but I think...
He could have just played dumb. He could have been like, Tony, I don't know.
But see, I think...
Of course, it doesn't make as good of a movie.
Well, yes, but it also, I think he probably felt like Tony's a smart enough individual. He would figure... I mean, Tony has the money to figure out truly what was going on. Mm-hmm. He just didn't dig deep enough until that point.
Yeah.
But, no, Jeff Bridges just... I love Jeff Bridges. He's so good.
But this also goes into my opinion, probably the biggest flaw in the movie, at least, again, in my opinion, is what's the plan? In terms of being a villain.
Honestly,
what's the...
You're
what's
right.
The plan?
I don't know what the end goal is, but I think it was
taking back over the company.
Right. I think he had control of the company. Tony comes into play when he's 21, and I think he just wanted that soul power.
Was his whole plan, was he planning on... Because, I'm sorry, selling those weapons to terrorists, that's small-time business. That's a supermarket selling, like, I don't know, candy bars under the table.
Right. So it's
like that's small time. But my point is, was he planning on at the end of the day? Was he planning on pinning that on Tony? Was that the end game?
But then he would go down with that. Right?
No, I guess he could claim like, oh, I figured this out. This was all Tony was doing this, and that was the way to force him out.
Yeah, but that's also I don't think.
But then he was planning on snuffing him out anyway.
So, well, I guess.
Or maybe that was the plan all along. Was that's. He was. I guess he was. He just wanted Tony out of the picture, so he paid the terrorist in weapons to kill Tony.
Well,
is what the movie leads you to believe.
Okay, that makes
the most
But they
failed
sense.
And still wound up with weapons.
Well, that is true, because remember in the hostage video that we didn't kill him, we have him alive, and it's like...
They continue to get... Because Tony blows up all the weapons, and then later on, they have all the weapons.
They still have all... He gave them the weapons... He gave them more weapons. Yeah, you're right. It would... I don't know what his total plan was.
Yeah.
But... I mean, if they were really going to dive into that, the movie would be like 3 hours long. It truly would be 3 hours long.
Yeah.
I think for the simplicity of the storyline, they needed it to be that simple.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's, again, this is a comic book movie. And it's just supposed to be fun.
Right.
And it is. And
it's something that Iron Man, in my opinion, truly set the bar and the tone for how these Marvel movies would end up being made. Where it's, while there are some dark elements or some very serious moments, overall it's supposed to be a fun, kind of some really hilarious parts, and it's
because of this movie, Jon Favreau became Disney's like go-to.
Yes, he did, and that's another thing. Because
because after he did 1 and 2,
and then he did Jungle Book, and he's doing Lion King. But Favreau, like when you think about it, how can you, the way that they did film that we talked about, where it was very improvisational, like a lot of things were made on the fly. How do you convince a studio that like everything is still going fine? They've got to know that this seems like a disaster.
This one wasn't Disney though.
No,
we're thinking about it.
But it still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's still higher ups that you're having to talk to and be like, everything's good, it's fine, we're good. And for someone to be able to do that, that's pretty impressive.
I always felt like, and just the way, and again,
and I'm sure they
just missed it, but in terms of even the marketing for this movie, maybe it was because I was looking forward to The Dark Knight so much.
It came out the same summer as The Dark Knight.
I just completely overlooked it. And actually, at the time, I think I might have been looking forward because Edward Norton was playing the Incredible Hulk the same year too. And I remember thinking, and I loved Edward.
Edward Norton's a great actor. Well, and that's the other crazy thing is at this time, Robert Downey did not have. He had made Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. In Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, he's awesome, and he's so funny.
This was the beginning of the Robert Downey comeback.
This was the true. He made Iron Man, and people were like, "Oh, Robert Downey's back."
Yeah,
and it's awesome that he has stayed on top. Like, I think some people probably thought that he would make this movie become big, and that there may be another downfall, but there wasn't. He stayed on top, and
all because of a hamburger.
Which
then they pay homage to in the movie.
And Downey was like, I gotta have this scene in this apparently, back in 2003 or 4, he was like on a drug bender. He must have been, who knows what drugs he was on, coke, heroin. He was known to do everything.
Yeah.
And he apparently told his limo driver to go
into a Burger King.
And he went through the drive-thru, got a burger.
He had done so many drugs he couldn't taste the burger. It tasted horrible.
No, he just said it tasted horrible. And that it made him reevaluate his life. And then he just dumped all his drugs into the ocean.
And then they paid homage to it in the movie, which was...
When he came back, and she was like, Pepper was like, we have to go to the hospital. And he's like, nope. I want an American cheeseburger, and we're holding a press conference. And that's, I'm sure is what Downey... So we have to have that scene, because that's Downey is Tony Stark. Like, I can picture anyone else playing Captain America. I can picture someone else playing Black Panther. I can picture anyone else playing the Hulk. Any of those. I really can't picture anyone else playing Tony Stark, because it's the character of Tony Stark is so integrated into how Robert Downey acts, just in general.
Yeah.
It's that same. He talks really quick. He's kind of sarcastic. He's the shit, and he knows it.
Yeah.
And that's just Robert Downey. And I cannot. And I'm sure someone could come along and do it fine. But in the end of the day, people will just sit there and go.
And to think, it's almost Tom Cruise.
See,
and I like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
I like Tom Cruise as an actor a lot. I cannot picture him as Iron Man at all.
No, well...
And I think if he was Iron Man, I don't think it's anywhere near as successful.
Oh, I don't either.
I think it might have been a solid movie, but I think Tom Cruise would have tried... He has so much power and, input into how he wants a movie to be made.
Especially at that point in time, and this wasn't... He likes to have power in his movies.
He likes to be able to... He kind of gets his way with a lot of things.
Speaking of, was part of Edward Norton's downfall, and the whole. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in the next video when we review that movie.
I think I don't know. I think Iron Man is good, and
it holds its own. It holds its own really well.
It holds up really well. I remember when we rewatched it a couple nights ago. I remember thinking it probably won't hold up, because I remember really liking it when I first saw it. But I was like, it probably...
See, I've actually, before we rewatched it...
You had watched it a few months prior, right?
Yeah, I saw it about 2 months ago. But before that, it had been... I'm in the same boat as you. It had probably been at least 4 or 5 years.
I was about to say a couple years.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking...
It's funny, I've seen the second one a ton.
Why?
It's always on FX. Or it was always on TV. It was always on TV, and I just always caught... And I don't... Maybe not from beginning to end...
you would catch.
I would catch parts of it, and the first one, it had been a while.
But it's still so good. The moment I turned it on, I was like, "Oh no, this is awesome."
Yeah,
and Marvel is lucky that Iron Man was the first movie, and that Iron Man was as good as it was.
Yeah,
because if it wasn't, our world as we know it might be different. At the time too, it was. It was very similar to how Batman Begins was, in the sense that these were totally different superhero movies. Mm-hmm. They were fresh, because before, superhero movies just felt kind of like action. They were just action movies, but there wasn't like a whole lot of
it changed
character development and really personally relating to these characters, or personally.
I can't say there was no character development in previous.
I don't say none, but to the extent that Iron Man or Batman Begins had.
You've got to remember, at this point, first of all, I'm not saying it's great. I love Hugh Jackman, but they had already made X-Men Origins Wolverine by this point.
Kyle.
That in itself was an origin movie. That's my point. You can't say that's not backstory.
But that's a terrible movie. X-Men Origins is bad.
The first Spider-Man. That is an origin movie.
That's okay. I'm saying Iron Man, like, he is a fully realized character, and he's someone that you truly sympathize with and you understand what he's going through. Like, everything, they crafted it so well.
No,
that you truly care not only
it's
about...
It's an easy character to craft. And that's to their credit.
Yes.
Because they said, it's an easy one to kick off, because you don't have to go into me. Billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
But the fact was, he was basically, I mean, he was just he seemed like your typical kind of rich asshole.
Yeah.
And then, but that's why that whole first half of the movie is so great. It shows his progression just as a human.
Yeah.
That something really humbled him.
But he wasn't a bad guy.
Well,
he wasn't a straight up asshole.
Yeah, but they're also...
He's rich, and he didn't seem...
The
world revolved around him, but he wasn't necessarily an asshole. I mean, you see it in the Fun V at the beginning.
Yeah, but I would say, I don't think he truly... He hit a point where there wasn't really anyone that he would flat out acknowledge that he like cared about and loved. And after that whole cave part of the movie, and he comes out, he realizes that there's two people in his life that he truly does care about.
Yeah.
And that's Rhodey and Pepper.
Yeah.
And and that's all due to, it wasn't just the experience, it was the conversations he was having with that guy in the cave. And the guy asked him about, do you have a family? Yeah. And he's like, do you have anyone that you care about? And it made Tony realize, like, when I'm in a position where I'm like this, I've been captured, I'm being held hostage, am I, like, who's worrying about me?
Yeah.
And
No, it is. This movie does kicks off everything. I mean, it kicks off not only his character, but I mean, it kicks off everything. You see,
well, this also...
You see Samuel Jackson's...
I was about to say, it's exactly what I was about to bring up, is how...
And if he's not... If this never happens... Going back to the cave, if that whole experience never happens, he's never... Even if he eventually invents the Iron Man suit, would never even consider... He already doesn't want to join up with other superheroes to begin with.
Right.
But if he never had been in that cave situation, he would have never even been open enough.
No.
Like, he would have never even...
The thought wouldn't even... Of joining, like, a team.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Tony Stark.
Yeah.
That's not Tony Stark.
And it took that, just for that to even be something that even he processed or thought about.
And that's what you were about to talk about, Samuel L. Jackson. Iron Man, it's crazy to think that before Iron Man, there may have been a few post-credit scenes, like there's Ferris Bueller, like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
And there's probably been...
There's been others, but this
jump-started the whole idea of, like, no, we have to stay for after the credits.
Yeah.
Because something's going to be revealed.
It's become every movie
you
watch.
Movie. And you also, if you see someone leaving in the theaters, all you think is, like, you dumbass.
Like, there's going to be something
stupid.
And as soon as the credits start, you see people on their phone, like, is there an after credits? Like, they're Googling.
You have to figure it out. But with Marvel, it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed.
But that, to a point, because of all those after credit scenes in every Marvel movie, there's now even non-Marvel movies where I'm looking up, like, I'm assuming there's got to be after credit scene.
Yeah.
And it has.
Yeah.
Almost a majority of them have, I would say, all because of Marvel.
Yeah, they've turned it into a thing.
Because they've realized, instead of trying to set up a sequel in the middle of a movie and adding, like, a whole new storyline, we'll just add something real quick at the very, very
people
end.
A taste.
Yes. To give people, like, something to get, like, if you're already excited, just wait.
All the Phase 1 movies are very unique, and Iron Man in particular, not really in particular, well, yeah, they all had their own style, especially the early ones. And as Marvel has gone on, it's almost like they've perfected the formula, but at least starting out in those first couple movies, and it started with Iron Man, it's a unique movie.
Yeah.
And especially Iron Man, the first two Iron Men, The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, and Thor, they were different. Like, each one looked and felt like different movies. And there's been a couple since then, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, that have felt different.
It didn't feel like... See, this is what I would have to bring up. Because when you go back and watch them, I would argue that they do feel very similar. Because Marvel has... It's become... This is just what... At the time... Iron Man was fresh.
Yeah.
And it felt so unique.
Because they took that formula of kind of being, these are deep issues, like the kind of funny, kind of that they took that aspect from Iron Man and what made it so successful, and they ran with it. Well, they took aspects from all of their early movies and have kind of trickled them in, but that was like the main selling point they took from that movie, and it's a very influential. And there's been other movies. Everybody tries to copy what Marvel did, and it stems from Iron Man and how good of a job, and it was well directed, well acted.
It helped that the players involved in this movie were involved.
Yeah,
because if there was one, if Favreau wasn't directing, and it was some kind of relatively average director, it may not have played out that well.
Yeah.
If Robert Downey wasn't Iron Man, I don't think it's anywhere near as successful.
No, I don't think so either. He's very charismatic, and every time he's on screen, you want him to, anytime he's not on screen, you want him to be back on screen.
Yeah. Well, and exactly. I mean, he's so, the character of Tony Stark is so fun to watch because of how he behaves.
He's a billionaire.
It's not only is he so rich, and it's like it's the way he behaves is fun to kind of watch. It's also that he is insanely smart. Like he builds the Iron Man suit himself.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Jarvis is there to help, but the whole time...
I felt like this movie, and that's something I forgot in the however many years it had been since I originally watched it to when I first watched it recently, was this movie does a great job of giving that backstory that, he's a genius. He's a genius. He's really smart. Yeah, it's not just like Batman where they has money. It's he has money and he's a genius.
Batman's smart, but yeah, they talk about Tony Stark graduated from MIT at 16, 18, whatever, summa cum laude. Yeah. Like he's super smart. And it obviously plays back into where Jeff Bridges is yelling at the guy and it's like, Tony Stark built this in a cave with, what do you say, like rocks and hammers or whatever, like basically saying like, how did he build this in a cave with limited resources and y'all can't do this and you have this huge laboratory. Yeah. And the
I'm giving you everything you need.
And the guy's like, I'm not Tony Stark.
And that sums it up.
Yeah, it shows that, no, Tony Stark is incredibly intelligent.
He is Iron Man.
Yeah, did you know, that's a piece of trivia I figured out too. At the end, that was like the big, I guess, like the big scene of the movie was at the very end. He goes in this press conference and he's supposed to be denying like what's going on.
What sets him apart from every other superhero on the planet.
He's totally okay with saying like, I am Iron Man. The piece of trivia that I was trying to tell you about.
Robert Downey's proud to be an Iron Man, and everybody knows
he's proud to be an Iron Man. He
doesn't mind being
all the extras in that scene, all the people that are playing the reporters. They were told, either Favreau or whoever, they told them that what they were seeing with him saying I am Iron Man in the press conference, that it was a dream sequence, that they thought they were watching something like, it's this actually didn't happen, where in reality it was Tony Stark flat out owning up to being this superhero.
Yeah.
Which is, it's unheard of when it comes to usual superhero mythology. There's usually an alter ego that you try and keep hidden, but Tony Stark's like, fuck it.
And honestly, this part of the reason it was so successful, in my opinion, and even looking back on it, is the Dark Knight. It's so serious and everything, and Iron Man.
It was the yin and yang of 2008.
Mm-hmm. Like both great in their own right, but
because all I remember was everyone was looking forward to Dark Knight. Especially because Heath Ledger had passed, and then you saw clips of Heath Ledger, and you're like, he is going to dominate as the Joker. And plus,
Batman
Begins was so good.
He had, before that movie was even released, and before he died, he was getting Oscar buzz.
Yes.
For the people were going,
he's amazing.
He's amazing in this.
So everyone was looking forward to The Dark Knight to a point where, like, not saying that people forgot about Iron Man, but no one was looking forward to Iron Man like they were The Dark Knight. And then Iron Man came out, and people went and saw it, and that was amazing. That was great.
And even, like I said, even the Hulk. Like, Edward Norton was in the Hulk. I know I had friends that were
more excited to see the Hulk?
Yeah. That were
because of Edward Norton.
Yeah, and it was just like, people, after the original Hulk, people were excited to see where it was going.
Yeah, because the original Hulk was...
Yeah, people were glad to see that was being rebooted. But I remember that. That was... Iron Man was not on my list of must-watch movies.
And it ended up being easily top 5
I ended up seeing it opening weekend, and it was on the fly. We went at like at 10 o'clock on a show on a Friday night because we were like, oh, we heard it got good reviews. We'll go see it. We'll go check it out. We went to go see it. We all walked out, and we said, holy crap, that was good. Like, that was phenomenal. And actually, we didn't even realize there was an after-credit scene until we got home.
Oh, that's the other crazy thing is that, like, you would get on... and this was... 2008 was, like... YouTube was, like, in year 1.5.
Yeah.
Like, this was... And I remember getting on YouTube...
And having to look up the after-credit scene.
No, it's because it became a big deal that people were like, did you all stay for after the movie? Which, it's so crazy to think, like... Back then, it was like why?
Yeah,
why would I stay to after the credits? You know, like, and then all they had to say was Samuel Jackson's in it, and I was like, done. I went straight to YouTube to try and find that after credit scene.
Yeah,
and of course, someone bootlegged filmed it, and like I'm truly, especially at that time, was not.
And Samuel Jackson, he's,
I wasn't well versed with comics.
Yeah.
Comic books were never really my thing. I do like Marvel
movies. I picked
movies.
up on the S.H.I.E.L.D. thing about, I think it was the second time they met, and I was like, that's
obviously Clark Gregg, who's great. Clark Gregg is great as Agent Coulson. He's
fantastic.
He's great. And
he's also fantastic
you said the show, because I don't watch the show.
The show's at best okay.
Okay.
But he is fantastic. He's so watchable.
He's good. He's good.
Actually really watchable in everything he does. I think he's a very underrated actor.
I mean, well, flash forwarding to Avengers, he's truly is what
he's what brings them together.
But anyway,
back to Iron Man.
When you see Coulson in the movie, I was with you the second, because I didn't even. It was what was it? Safeland. No.
Dude, I don't know.
Security, Homeland, something, Logistics Division. Yeah. And, like, I remember watching the first time, and I was like, I'm assuming this is playing a big part. Like, and it's crazy to think now that I'm like, oh, I know what S.H.I.E.L.D. is. Yeah. And, like, at the time, I just didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
But I did know what the Avengers were. And when Nick Fury is like, I'm with S.H.I.E.L.D., and he says it's the... I need to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. I was like,
on board.
I was so on board, and because at that time I was like, okay, they have Robert Downey, they have Edward Norton, they have Samuel Jackson. Let's go!
Yeah.
Like I was so
because at that point that's all you knew.
Yeah, which God, this it is, it's so cool to go back and watch just how this.
I believe it was after the success of Iron Man. Is when they started to go through and start to cast the other people. And I remember because it was kind of news when they were searching for Captain America, because people knew they were doing the Avengers.
They're doing the Avengers.
And they're going to make individual movies. And yeah, it's cool, man. It was a cool time.
Cool.
And it all started with this movie. And it's a really good movie. What do you give this movie?
Like on an A to F, or are we talking 0 to 10?
A to F.
A to F. See, it's weird. Like, if I'm talking in the scheme of Marvel movie, like in the scheme,
no, overall movie grade.
I'd probably give it.
We will go through.
I'd probably give it a minus.
Maybe
an A.
Really? See, I'd go B plus, B plus, A minus.
Dude, it's probably leaning more to A minus, but it's like it's one of those movies where the only flaws for me, I mean, they're nitpicky stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's things like we talked about with
the villain.
The villain. What is his plan? Why? How could Jeff Bridges not realize the money that could be made with the technology of the arc reactor?
That technology that was in Tony's chest was the biggest moneymaker in the whole movie. And Jeff Bridges, while he was trying to get his hands on it, he was trying to for
weapons
reasons. Yeah. And there's so many more applications to that.
And then there's another nitpicky thing.
They could have honestly just patented it and given let everybody else know how to make it and just cleaned up and
well, then there's another thing like you could talk about. He's the scene where he goes back to the Middle East to basically as Iron Man to take out all those people that are holding that village hostage. They just kind of gloss over like that's got to be like a 5-hour flight. And they just talk like, oh yeah, he just flew over there. Like it wasn't like he took a plane over there and he took his suit and then went. It's like no, he as Iron Man just flew over there, and that's gotta be like 5 hours
minimum. I mean, it's minimum
like that's a long period of time to just be doing this. Like I'm assuming Jarvis took over like autopilot.
Honestly, I'm hoping he flew to his private jet, took his private jet from there,
maybe,
and then flew from there,
and then just left his private jet in the Middle East because he's
literally hitching. He would have flown to
he's literally hitching a ride home on a jet.
Yeah, I mean he could have flown to I don't know. I was gonna say Egypt, but that
I was like that's close.
That area at that point in time wasn't great either.
Okay.
Anyway.
I would honestly, yes, I'd give this an A minus, B plus. Like I would say A minus only because it for me it was an amazing movie that does have those minor flaws.
I understand that,
I don't think
movie, minor flaws.
But they're also I think they made it the best that they absolutely could. Like
it's probably I rank this and the first Avengers very close, but this is really good
as far as the Phase 1.
As far as Phase 1.
See, I
but
honestly,
anyway, this is by far the best of the original. What 4? Because there's
Iron Man, Incredible Hulk,
Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America.
5, isn't it?
So. Of those, this is the best.
Yeah, as far as standalone Phase 1 movies,
and there are that being said, I really like some of those other movies, and we'll get to that. But this in terms of grade wise,
and it holds up. It holds up. It set the tone for what Marvel was trying to do, and it's just really good.
I think it's good, and the biggest thing to take away from it is, the Marvel universe wouldn't exist without this.
Exactly.
Movie. And the success and the vibe they created with the movie, and that. That's why we spend so much time talking about it. It is the vibe and what was created at that point in time with this movie is what makes it great.
Yep. All right. Well,
we'll catch you next time.
We'll catch you next time with our take of the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Hey.